Hey, you guys, and welcome back to the Designer's Room where we go beyond the lash line. My name is Uni, and I'm a lash design mentor as well as mother. I'm excited to talk about the topic at hand today. If you can tell by the title, it is I like to use the word spicy, but it's a sensitive topic. Difficult clients and everything you need to know about them. I hope that this episode will give you the courage and the confidence to pursue your clients in a delicate manner, even the ones that are the most difficult to deal with. So let's just jump right into it. I would define a difficult client as someone who just gives you a hard time, and that can be in your technique, that can be in your policies, but that's my personal definition of a difficult client. Difficult client is not always someone who is not satisfied with your pricing, but also someone who may not adhere to the standards of your policies or business practices. We have all came across difficult clients, and there is a way to go about handling difficult clients with grace for you as well as that client. So, what even makes a client difficult, and is it always about them? So, what makes a client difficult? In my opinion, a difficult client is someone who may try to bend your rules and your policies or completely avoid paying attention to them at all. I've had difficult clients that refuse to read the policies, the frequently asked questions, want to even book on the booking site, want to get scheduled via just texting or calling in the middle of the night, odd hours of the night. I mean, you name it. I feel like that is what makes a client difficult, or one of the things that can make a client difficult. Next, a client who possibly is just never satisfied with, their lash sets. No matter what it is that you do, your full execution to what they want, and they are just not satisfied with the outcome. That we touched more on the previous episode, where your client may be asking you for a design that is not suitable for them. If you haven't checked that episode out, I highly recommend we go into detail about how to handle those situations. And the second part, is it always about them? That's a tough one because honestly, it may not always be about them. It can also be about just the personality differences. There are certain business owners who allow certain things, and their policies may look a lot different or have standards that are a lot different than what the next person may have. And depending on how many service providers this client has been to, they can have their own set of expectations. And if they're not met the same way when they come and see you, then that's where that friction could be. So it necessarily doesn't have to be the client being difficult. It could be the expectations from the other service provider or the standards from the other service provider that can kind of intercede with understanding and being on the same page when that client comes to see you. So it's not always that the client is a difficult person, but if you have a client who is used to getting their own way every single time with their previous provider. When I say get their own way, I'm talking about a client who will call you at 2:00 in the morning. And maybe that service provider that they went to before was like, okay, call me all hours of the night, 2:00 in the morning, 3:00 in the morning. I don't care. I'll come right over. I'll come to your house. There's no travel fee. Like, I got you, girl. So they can have this type of environment there. Then they want to come to you, and maybe their expectations are the same or similar. And when they're not, then that misunderstanding equals difficult client, or the label difficult client. Some people are quite difficult. Some personality types are quite difficult. I've had a client in the past where I was actually getting a service done by her esthetician who did her facials. And I had briefly shared my experience with this client being not as punctual, very hard to please, just even things as far as payments. And that esthetician has shared with me that she had the same experience. And me and that esthetician have two separate personalities. We're very professional, but two separate personalities, in two different ways that we run our business. So that was an indicator that that client just happened to be more difficult to deal with. And disclaimer, difficult clients, they deserve services too. There is a service provider for everyone. And just because it didn't work out with me doesn't mean it might not work out with the next person. You just have to find a person who is willing to service you to your expectations and whatever it is that you need out of a service. Not trying to bash anybody, not trying to say what is wrong or right or whatnot. Definition of difficult client in the sense of this realm of lashing and lash design, that's what I'm referring to. So no, it's not always about them, but sometimes it can be about them. How does your pricing attract or repel difficult clients? This is an amazing one. I am a firm believer that if you are lowballing your prices, you are going to attract difficult clients. And the definition of difficult clients, like we went over, people who have unrealistic expectations for a service that they're receiving, especially at a very low cost price. It's rare that my business will advertise for discounted sets. And if we are doing a discounted set, it is labeled as a model opening where the artist has the ability to have full creative freedom. And that's the only exception that I make when the service is not the price of the full service price. Otherwise, we keep our services at the standard price, never giving a $50 off or flash sale. I really feel as though when you charge less than what your service is worth, then you attract people who are not as respecting of the services you provide. They do not appreciate the services you provide the same way that someone who is paying your actual worth and value. There are clients out there who will bargain shop for services, and those same clients are possibly the most difficult clients. It's going to be, oh my gosh, girl, my lashes are falling out. I need to come back in and get, I need to come back in and get a fill on this because they're falling out already. Well, someone who is usually getting their lashes done, knows how this works, has no problem with paying the full price and is keeping up with their investment, knows that the lashes they tend to shed because all hair on your body sheds. And they're not bamming down the door. I just paid $100 for this full lash design, and 5 days later, I have all these lashes falling out, or yada, yada, yada. You know how that goes. So when you are lowballing your prices, just know that you are putting yourself in position to deal with more headaches as far as complaints, as far as unrealistic expectations, especially if you are doing, like, I see a lot of $100 freestyles. Like, in that sense, I know that a lot of people will do like discount with some type of sacrifice to what the full service price would have been. So you're not getting the service price at $100 at its full capacity. You're getting it at $100 for the fact that I have full creative freedom. There's going to be some type of like sacrifice to make the $100 make sense, if that makes sense. When you are positioning your business to have these discount sales or whatnot, just know you're setting yourself up to potentially attract clients who are not going to be the most kind and the easiest to deal with versus when you are charging your worth. And disclaimer too, clients, when they come and get luxury lash extensions done, because they are a luxury, they're skipping mascara, they're skipping a lash lift, they're skipping strip lashes, they're skipping DIY lashes. There's a lot of things that they're skipping to get to lash extensions. And I think that a lot of people forget that lash extensions are not a necessity. They are a pure luxury. You skip so many other services to get to lash extensions that there should be a minimum price. That minimum price, in my opinion, needs to be at least $200. $200 for lash extensions needs to be the minimum across the board. It's a luxury service. It's like charging $20 that you would pay at a drive-through, $20 for in-home buffet service. That's not how this works. But you have lash artists who are charging $50, $25, and getting these people kind of confused at the fact that lash extensions were originally a luxury and still are a luxury, but the perceived value has now diminished because the pricing. Now, when you are charging $200 plus, you are attracting people who are appreciative of their investments. If someone is going to pay $200 to get a service done, they're going to take care of it. They're going to make sure that they do the aftercare that comes with it. They have realistic expectations. They're respectful as well. That's a huge thing too. I feel like when people are bargain shopping, the bargain shoppers tend to be really rude and really disrespectful. Like in my experience, there have been so many people who were fishing for discounts who were so disrespectful with the mouth. Like cussing and all this. Like, luxury, lash extensions, they go together. When you're doing lash extensions, it's a luxury. When you price yourself as luxury, you attract luxury, you attract respect. Bottom line. So if you're a lash artist, lash designer, lash technician, I don't care who or where you fall in those categories. If you are doing a 1-to-1 ratio, or if you're sitting up spending 2 hours placing fans on someone's natural lashes, at minimum, you need to charge $200 to do so. That's just my personal opinion. And it's been a success thus far. So I think I know what I'm talking about when I say this. Next, what do high maintenance clients look for and how can you avoid them? So high maintenance clients, that's a tricky one, because when I think high maintenance clients, you would think someone who just gets all the services done and stuff like that. No, I'm talking about high maintenance clients that translate to difficult. Clients who, if they see 2 lashes fall off by day 5, they're like, oh my God, I gotta come in. Da, 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 da. Like, that's what I mean. So for clarification, high maintenance clients, how can you avoid them? Price your services at what you are worth. And if you feel like you're not worth the $200 that I'm telling you to charge, it's time for you to do something different in your business. I don't care if it's going to up your aftercare kits, include your aftercare kits in your service, start to provide client facial analysis, start learning how to lash design, take your time with your sets, add color matching, do your complimentary reminder phone calls or emails or text messages. Increase the perception of your business to meet the standard of a $200 service. If you are not providing $200 worth of a service, you need to do some self-reflection, get back in the lab, do what needs to be done so you can match at least that standard. That is the number one recommendation. When you charge at least that much, you are filtering out so many high maintenance clients who are going to ask you for the world and the stars and not want to pay what you're worth. Next, are difficult clients avoidable or just part of the process? I feel like charging more, you filter out a lot of those difficult clients, but in the same breath, you're going to still have the potential to attract someone who's difficult. There's going to be someone who's willing to pay the price and they are going to be difficult. What I like to emphasize is policies are crucial in running a high value service. And I'm not talking about writing a 500-page essay on your booking site before they can actually schedule. What I'm saying is setting a standard for your protocols in your business. So you guys are 100% on the same page before she even walks through the door. This is how you diminish the difficultness with a client. So if someone can just DM you and be like, hey, like, I really want to get my lashes done, I'll pay the $200. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to take your phone number and I'll see you in the next 2 days. That person comes in, they have no clue what to expect. They haven't signed no consent form. They don't know aftercare. They don't know when they need to come back for fills. There are so many things that are not addressed in the booking process, in which you need to have those things in the booking process, in your booking process, in your policies, as well as your consent forms. That is where you're the most transparent about the technicalities of your business, as well as your expectations and standards in your business. This further diminishes the conflict and how difficult a client really can be. Because at that point, she knows what to expect. She knows what's in your consent form. She knows the possibility. She gets the service done. She loves the lashes. What else is there to complain about? She's in the know of everything. And furthermore, if said client does not want to adhere to your policies or your standards, or don't even want to read it, don't want to sign the consent form, that is not the client for you. I've turned down some big money standing behind the integrity of my business. I've had a client who wanted to show up late. When I say late, 30, 40 minutes late each time. I gave her one chance, the second chance, and I said, after that second time, done. And I let her know, this is your last time receiving a service from me. My time is very valuable as well as yours. And I don't feel like there is a mutual respect for my policies. She said, oh, I'm so sorry. I'll pay you $400 to get back on your books. I know $400 sounds like a lot of money, because it is a lot of money. Have y'all seen this economy? Okay. $400 is a lot of money. But my integrity of my business is much more valuable than any dollar can buy. If a client is not going to respect your policies, that is a client you need to politely say you are not willing to service. And maybe put that in your policies too, that you have the right to refuse service to anyone at any time. What boundaries or systems should you have in place from the start? I feel like I already addressed that. Booking site, aftercare information, consent forms, consent form, consent form, consent form, consent form, consent form. You should not be out here giving services without a consent form. I don't care if you are just a beginner, you've been doing this for a while, or all your clients or your friends. You need protections. You need documentation that there was a clear understanding from the start. So all of these things, these systems are considered boundaries. They are boundaries that need to be met and have to be respected before actually getting the service done. So it limits just how difficult a client can be. How do you communicate policies without coming off rude? Booking site. Stop having in your bio, DM me to schedule an appointment. Why are people DMing you to schedule an appointment when Acuity exists, Square exists, Gloss Genius exists? All these things exist. Google Forms if you got to. Why are you allowing people to still schedule with you via bio? The booking site acts as a very polite way of giving them your standards, your policies before they actually get a service. Put it politely on your booking site before they can even move forward with the appointment. And then maybe put in a form in which they receive after they schedule the appointment, which they have to fill out, aka your consent form, that they have read all the policies and they're ready to proceed with the service, and have them sign that. I know sometimes people can get intimidated by creating a booking site, but it's the best thing for you. It is a way you can avoid having to say the same thing 10 times with every inquiry. What is one thing that I did that instantly shifted my clientele? I tapped into lash design. I know that you guys are like, lash design. She won't stop mentioning it. That's what I do. That is my field. But lash designing truly separated. When I say separated, I mean like oil and water. They don't even mix. Separated the two different types of clientele. People will come and get a lash design, will pay the price to get the analysis, will pay the price to get a lash design that is custom to their look, and also spend the time, because when you start doing lash designs, your services are going to be up to like 3 hours versus maybe a lash technician, they're doing their sets in like 2 hours, an hour and a half or whatnot. I can take my time. I'm dealing with clients who are willing to invest, and people who are willing to invest big money into their services and their upkeep tend to be very high value clients. I have this client, her name is Ashley. She's like the sweetest. She is a top-notch attorney. She pays the money for her services. She was flying across the country to come see me, to meet me in Canada, to meet me wherever. She's willing to fly, get the service done, get back on the plane and leave. The clientele difference is it's crazy. And these clients appreciate who I am as an individual and what I provide and what it is that I'm doing. So difference is huge. This all came from learning something different, doing something different, charging my worth, and having actual standards for my business. I think that's about all, you guys. I hope that this episode really helped you understand how to deal with difficult clients and maybe add a few extra things within your business to filter out difficult clients and start attracting high value clientele. Until next time, I'll see you guys later back in the designer's room. Bye.